Well, we may have a chance to come back to that. Let's go to some specific questions from our viewers. A viewer from Merrifield was concerned about the trapping language that was in the Senate Game and Fish Bill, and viewers wondering whether or not that trapping language was a critical factor in the early demise of the Senate Game and Fish Bill. Sort of more broadly, I would be interested in any observations our panel has about the trapping controversy. It's been very much a part of our discussions on this program almost every week, beginning from the very first program in February. And so let's talk about on the Senate side. We'll start with you, Senator Sieben. The trapping language, the Senate Game and Fish Bill. Tell us what you know about that.
I don't remember. I don't remember specifically what happened with the trapping language. I'll tell you what I do know about trapping. I represent Afton, which is a small community of about 3,000 people along the St. Croix River. And I was surprised a couple years ago to learn that you can place a trap on someone's private property and leave the trap there without the landowner's knowledge. And I found out about this because someone's dog had almost stepped in the trap, and so I'm sure if the viewers have heard about trapping, they've heard these sad stories.
And this has been largely the context in which this comes up, is the question about body grip traps and dogs and so forth. So you're absolutely right.
There have been impassioned speeches or testimony in committee, in the Environment Committee. I don't remember, though, to tell you the truth, if that provision went into Senator Schmidt's Game and Fish Bill. So I can't speak to that specifically. I do know that in the Game and Fish Bill, one provision that was controversial, the DNR is working to phase out lead shot in, if I'm saying that right, in
Yes.
bullets.
Shot.
I'm not a hunter.
Lead shot.
And the lead from spent shells. Thank you. I'm showing my ignorance here. Good thing I'm retiring. For those hunters out there who might have voted for me, the lead breaks down and kills the birds, the waterfowl. So some of the advocacy groups for waterfowl have been pushing for that change, or pushing the DNR to continue along the path of prohibiting that in some of the managed areas of the state.
We get a lot of questions on DNR issues on this program. Let's look to you, Senator. What about the Senate Game and Fish Bill, the trapping controversy, lead shot? Talk to us a little bit about what you have to say about those topics.
You know, I don't have a lot to say about it because I don't serve on the committee. Like Senator Sieben, I ran traps when I was a kid with my cousin, and so I understand that there's a good way and a right way and a wrong way to trap. And I am sympathetic to the issue that we are catching pets in these traps, and it seems to me there's a safe way to be able to do this, and unfortunately we have to legislate it rather than just having responsible trappers do it the right way.
Representative?
I know Representative Hackbarth was very, very sensitive to the rights of private landowners, and I think the legislation that he put forward required request and approval for a trapper to put either a single trap or a line of traps on someone else's property. To the point about lead shot, I think that there was some concern about whether or not the validity of the data or the robust nature of the data was really there to move forward on it. But I don't serve on Senate Representative Hackbarth's committee, so I'm only cursory in nature on that subject.
Well, just very quickly, I think the same information I get from constituents is very similar with our colleagues here at the table. A lot of concern about what happens to pets, and then the kinds of traps that really bring about a very torturous and slow death for the animal that's trapped. So there's kind of two levels of concerns: the pets, and then the kind of trap that is used. And that's what I hear from folks that are interested in the issue, and I think it's something that we do have to take a very serious look at and resolve. People's pets are an important part of their lives, and when they lose a pet to a trap, that's something that they feel very strongly about.
Am I correct that that there was no legislative action on the whole trapping controversy? Nothing that actually passed the legislature and has gone to the governor for signature. Am I right about that?
I don't know. I can't remember if that provision was put into the omnibus bill or not.
It will remain one of the uncertainties, I guess, of the
I don't think
process.
it was, that particular provision I don't think was. There was little or no discussion of traps on the House floor when the bill hit when the bill hit the House floor. The mail I was getting was earlier in the session when the legislation would have been before committee.
Mm-hmm.